In 1944, during the height of World War II, a Japanese hell ship carried British prisoners of war. Inside the cabin, the atmosphere was suffocating. The captives were weak, starving, and covered in wounds. Among them was not only a British prisoner, but also a Japanese soldier hanging as punishment. That man was Commander Sato, accused of treason, and he was dragged before his superiors to face execution. Not long after, a British soldier named Bronson, who had previously attempted to escape, was also brought in. The two men were chained together at the ankles, prepared to be thrown into the ocean as punishment. But before the execution could be carried out, a sudden Allied air raid struck the ship. Explosions tore through the deck, chaos consumed the vessel, and amid the destruction, Sato and Bronson leapt into the sea, leaving the hell ship to sink into the waves along with its crew. By the next day, the tide carried both men to the shore of a remote island. Half conscious, Bronson dragged the unconscious body of Sato onto the beach. When midday came, Sato woke to find himself stranded, still chained to Bronson, who was sleeping from exhaustion. In panic, he tried to break the chain using a pistol he had taken from a corpse, but Bronson soon awoke, and the two men fought violently all the way down to the waterline. Their fight was interrupted when a mysterious figure emerged from the sea and grabbed Bronson, wounding him badly. Sato managed to shoot the creature, saving Bronson's life, and the two men retreated to shore, shaken but alive. Back on land, the tension eased slightly. Bronson asked what the creature was, but Sato only stared out at the sea in silence, unable to answer in English. At one point, Sato even considered ending his life, but Bronson stopped him. Realizing that survival depended on cooperation, the two agreed to work together.
I keep this. We need to be ready for it.
They began exploring the island, stumbling across the wreckage of the sunken ship and the corpses of Japanese soldiers scattered along the beach. From the debris, they salvaged food, water, and Kretek cigarettes. Bronson found something especially useful, a broken metal gear he fashioned into a crude knife. Not far away, he discovered the body of a young comrade, which made him laugh bitterly before he broke down in grief.
He was young, innocent.
That night, Sato cooked crabs he had caught and shared them with Bronson. Bronson drank Sato's coffee and smoked one of the Kretek cigarettes, and for the first time since their imprisonment, the atmosphere softened. Though their languages differed, they began opening up, slowly letting go of their wartime hatred.
Bronson.
Saito.
After resting, they tried to cut the chain still binding their ankles. Bronson used the gear as a blade, attaching it to a stick, but his attempts failed again and again. Sato suggested targeting the section closest to his ankle. Bronson hesitated, fearing the blade might slip and injure Sato, but eventually he took the chance. The gamble worked, the chain snapped, and they were free at last.
Yes! Woo!
Me and you, we make a good team.
Their relief was short-lived. Strange noises, the same as before, echoed from the forest, warning them of the creature's return. Before they could act, 2 surviving Japanese soldiers appeared, with an Indonesian prisoner named Yanto, who had also washed ashore. Sato told Bronson to hide, while he approached his countrymen. The Japanese soldiers welcomed Sato at first, sharing what little food they had, but suspicion soon rose. They noticed leftover food from more than one man, and then spotted the marks around Sato's ankles, realizing he had been chained as a traitor. Word of his betrayal had already spread aboard the ship. When pressed about the missing British prisoner, Sato kept silent. Tension escalated, and a katana was drawn against him. Suddenly, a loud roar broke the standoff. Yanto trembled, whispering, "Fishman," over and over. One soldier went to investigate, but moments later his scream echoed through the jungle. His severed head was hurled back into camp, spreading panic. In the chaos, Bronson struck from hiding and stabbed another soldier. Then, the fishman attacked, driving Yanto into a terrified run. Sato and Bronson fled into the forest, but Bronson stumbled and the creature closed in. Bullets bounced harmlessly off its skin and Bronson was caught. At the last moment, Sato struck with a katana, slashing the beast and buying enough time for them to escape. But in the dark, both men fell into a ravine and were separated. At dawn, they woke battered and bloodied. Sato had a serious chest wound from being impaled by a tree branch, while Bronson coughed blood, clinging to a tree before slipping into a river. He eventually washed ashore. Separated, both men followed the river in different directions. Bronson reached the upper stream, where a massive crocodile appeared. Fortunately, it did not attack. Pressing on, he spotted the fishman tending its wounded arm, still bleeding from Sato's sword strike. From a distance, he watched as a crocodile lunged at the monster, only to be swiftly killed. The encounter revealed how terrifyingly strong the creature really was. Meanwhile, Sato wandered the forest and discovered human corpses. In shock, he stumbled into a pit and found the carcass of another fishman, this one killed by a gunshot to the head. From this, he concluded that the head was its only weakness. Sato scavenged weapons from the dead and kept moving until he reached a crashed airplane where something inside unsettled him enough to quickly leave. Bronson eventually arrived at the same plane wreckage. He scavenged tools and cigarettes, pausing to smoke in weary relief. Sato appeared soon after, startling him, and the two men reunited. Sato took a lighter from Bronson and led him to a cave where they discovered a baby mer creature, the offspring of the fishman. Bronson wanted to kill it immediately, but Sato refused, fearing it would only provoke the mother. Bronson then suggested a dangerous plan to use the bomb from the plane to lure the fishman into the cave and destroy it.
Come on.
Together, they struggled to move the heavy weapon, but its seal was too strong. They returned to the wreckage to find an axe to break it open. At that moment, the fishman attacked. But this time they fought back with katana and axe, wounding it badly before it fled. They hurried back to the cave, desperate to prepare the bomb, but the fishman had already returned. A brutal fight erupted. Bronson was slashed across the stomach, his wound fatal. With the last of his strength, Sato fired his weapon, hitting both the fishman and its child. The monster went berserk. Realizing his end was near, Bronson forced Sato to escape, choosing to stay behind and detonate the bomb, sacrificing himself so the monster would not pursue his comrade.
Go, Sato. Go. See you in hell, bitch.
Sato fled, but the explosion failed to kill the creature. The fishman survived and pursued him to the beach. Exhausted and broken, Sato appeared to await death, lying in plain sight. The creature pounced, but the body it struck was only a decoy. The real Sato had buried himself beneath the sand. Seizing the chance, he ambushed the monster with his sword. They fought savagely until finally Sato subdued it. Yet, instead of finishing the kill, he left it alive, retrieving a flare gun. When he turned back, the creature had vanished. Firing the flare into the sky, he collapsed on the beach. Days later, a ship arrived and rescued him. On board, Sato received medical care and was interrogated about his past. He revealed the truth. He had been branded a traitor because he killed his own brutal general. When asked about Bronson, his mind drifted to a simple moment of happiness when his companion had savored a single cigarette as though it were treasure. To honor him, Sato lit a cigarette and gazed back at the island, his chest heavy with wounds and memories. And so the story came to an end.